everyone, and welcome back to the Crowdfunding Roundup. This is the Wednesday edition of the Crowdfunding Roundup, in which we look at games that launched the previous day on Tuesday. And usually this is going to be the biggest video of the 3 videos that I'll put out in a week, because I'm now doing a Wednesday edition, a Friday edition, and a Tuesday edition. But this week wasn't that busy. So I think we have 10 campaigns to look at today. Most of them are on Kickstarter. One of them is on Backerkit. Quick reminder here that all of the campaigns that I talk about are listed down in the description of the video, along with links to the campaigns, and I've bookmarked or tabbed the videos. So if you're someone who maybe wants a little insight into how to look through Kickstarter and what to look at and when you evaluate a Kickstarter and you're thinking about backing it, this could be a really helpful video series for you to sort of mitigate the risk for yourself. But if you're someone that has more knowledge about Kickstarter, this could also be a tool just so that you don't have to go hunting and looking for things. You could come to my video here and watch it and use the bookmark tabs to jump around and look at the specific campaigns that you're interested in. It could potentially save you a lot of time. So the best way to support this channel right now is to like and subscribe. I have a lot of new content coming up that I'm going to be launching over the next month. So if you subscribe that way, you'll be aware when things launch, when they hit, when they premiere. I also mentioned in my last video that I was going to kind of incorporate the 3 remaining Kickstarter weekly videos into the next 3 videos that I was doing for the Crowdfunding Roundup. I've thought about that for a day or two, and I'm actually going to change what I had planned. So I will not be doing any of the Kickstarter weekly content in this video. This video is just going to look at the campaigns that funded yesterday. What I'm going to do instead is in the Friday editions, and this will be an ongoing thing now because there are less campaigns for us to look at in the Friday editions. I'm only looking at the campaigns that launch on Wednesday and Thursday in those Friday editions. So I will do a second section in those videos on the Friday editions that will cover the games that are funding the following week that I think merit your attention. Just kind of, quickly looking through the best campaigns, the ones that I think you might want to be reminded of the week before they're going to complete their funding. So these Wednesday editions will be the biggest probably videos of the bunch because they'll have usually a lot of games that premiere on Tuesday. This is just a lighter week. Then the Friday editions will cover the games that launch on Wednesday and Thursday. So it'll be shorter. And then I'll have that second section looking ahead to specific campaigns that are completing their funding the following week. I won't go into as great detail as I was in the Kickstarter weekly videos, but I will look at those campaigns. Maybe we'll watch videos for them, look at them a little more closely. And then, the following week after the weekend, I'll do a Tuesday video that covers everything that launched Friday through Monday. And those will probably be the shortest videos of the bunch, so I may figure out something to do as an additional section in those videos. We'll find out. First campaign here is for Alpujarras and Fisheries of Gloucester. Now, this is a campaign that was on GameFound a couple weeks ago, and it ran for about a week. It's being published by Dr. Finn's Games. These are 2 of Steve Finn's newest games. And he ran that campaign for a week, and I think it made $11,000. And he pulled the plug on it. It wasn't doing as well as he'd hoped. He's relaunched it on Kickstarter. So in the first 24 hours, he's already got $13,500. So he's beat the first campaign by $2,500. Now he has a funding goal of $20,000. Is that going to fund in the end? I'm not sure. That's right on the line. But Steve Finn's a pretty good designer, and I think his games merit your interest, your attention. You're taking a closer look at it. So hopefully for Steve Finn, this campaign will fund, but I think it might be tight. So if it does, whether it does or not, it's going to complete on March 27th. And I'm just going to kind of go through what you probably should be taking a look at as your evaluating campaigns or you're considering what to back. So, right off the bat, we see that this is a campaign that may or may not fund. It's going to be right on the line. And that is the date where it'll, finish funding. If it were to complete its funding, it'll deliver, down here we see, in November of 2023. And this is being published by Dr. Finn's Games, Steve Finn's company. He's designed a lot of stuff. Let's take a quick look over here and see what he's done on Board Game Geek. We'll just look at it by year released. So as we kind of go backwards in time here, Fisheries of Gloucester, Alpujarras Express. He did Mining Colony Secret Missions. This was a little addition to Mining Colony. Butterfly Garden Duel. The Little Flower Shop Express. Nanga Parbat. This game's on Board Game Arena right now. It's something that I actually want to play. Biblios, Quill, and Parchment. So we're just going back. You may or may not know these games. The Little Flower Shop Dice Game, Mining Colony. And rather than continuing to go back, let's just take a look at the games that he's done that are the highest ranked. And these are actually the games that his company has published. So he's designed a few other games, but these are the ones that his company has published. So if we go by rank here, we've got Biblios at the top, Herbaceous, Sunset Over Water, Nanga Parbat, the Biblios Dice Game, Cosmic Run. These are lighter games, but fairly well designed. And if we look at Steve Finn himself, okay, there's going to be one or two games: Floriferous, the Whatnot Cabinet, Herbaceous Sprouts. These are games that were published by other publishers, but they are still games that he designed. And the art, I think on both of these games, the art is done by Asi Haikala. And if we want to see what else he has done, just as representative art, he worked on the original Eclipse, Nations, Flamme Rouge, Nations the Dice Game, Honshu, Castell, Tinner's Trail. This is the newer version, I believe, Hokkaido. So, he's done a bunch of games that have gotten some play that people probably know. So both of these games are fishing themed. They both seem to use kind of an action selection mechanism. Alpujarras has... Let's see, one of them has a rondel. I think it might be Alpujarras. A turn-based game in which players move their mules around an action track outside the game board. The player who is furthest behind takes the turn and moves their mule to an action space to perform an action. You may have seen this in other games where whoever's kind of following up in the rear, whoever's in last place will take actions until they're no longer in last place, and then whoever is in last place at that point will take actions. If you've played Patchwork, that game, very simple tile placement game, but that game works the same way. Whoever's in last place takes their actions. There's a lot of other games that work that way too. What's the one that I'm thinking of, the Martin Wallace design, that's kind of Cthulhu themed? Sorry. If I... I have to find out the answer for myself. Where are you, Martin Wallace? Where is your design here? Australia. Australia does a similar thing. So whoever's in last place will take their turns. Anyway, both of these games are kind of fishing themed. So Alpujarras uses a kind of rondel, basically, goes around the board. And then the other one, Fisheries of Gloucester. This is maybe perhaps a bit more simple, but you're going to have a few turns, a few actions you take on your turn. So it's a 2-player game, lasts 6 days or rounds. Each day, players have a designated number of hours to spend to perform various actions, such as charting the course, sailing your boats, catching fish. So they both happen to be fishing-themed games, and one's a 2-player game with kind of action points, I guess, and the other is this got a rondel. But I think from everything I've heard, Steve Finn makes pretty good games. Just giving you a look at what they look like. This is the Fisheries of Gloucester one here, or Gloucester, depending on how. I've heard it pronounced both ways. It sort of depends. It's probably Gloucester, though, actually. All right. Okay, so if you wanted to back these, for $25, you can pledge Fisheries of Gloucester. For $35, you can pledge Alpujarras. And then if you want to pick up 2 games together, it's $55, and it's also limited to 200, but there's a bundle that includes other games, and that costs $80. So you would also get Nanga Parbat with that, some promo packs for other games, and for this, shipping's free. Shipping's included in that bundle pledge. For the other games, you're going to be paying in the continental U.S. $6 for Fisheries, $8 for Alpujarras, or $11 for both, which would bring your pledge price to $31 for Fisheries, $43 for Alpujarras, or $66 for the bundle. And again, these will deliver in November 2023. And these are, kind of lighter, probably medium light, sort of action selection games, both fishing themed, and, they're by a pretty decent designer. So that is the first campaign that launched yesterday that we're taking a look at. Next up is Fatal Knockout, a 1 to 2 player fighting game inspired by old school arcade fighters. So we see here this has a funding goal of $8,200, almost $8,300. They're at $3,700, so this probably will not fund. And it's a little bit more, let's see. Crab Studios, I do not know. Oh, this is the game by Niall Crabtree. Right. So he's done a couple things before. This one was unsuccessful. Blocker is a stacking game. They relaunched it. Food Time Battle in Space, canceled. Probably, wasn't going to fund, so they canceled it. Relaunched, and it succeeded. Then they did this one, Lang Skip. This happens a lot with smaller creators as they're starting out, where they'll have to kind of figure it out as they go, and most campaigns will take a run or two before they actually succeed. So Crab Studios and Niall Crabtree is not really at the same level yet as Steve Finn, although Steve Finn's been having problems getting his campaigns funded as well. But I feel bad for Steve Finn because he's a solid designer. I think part of it is he's still kind of doing a sort of a one-man operation, so he can't really afford to do global shipping, and I know that was limiting his success over in the Game Found campaign. But he's been around enough and kind of designed enough games that I wish he wasn't having the problems he was still having to get his games funded and just design for a living. He should be able to just do it at this point. But back to Niall Crabtree. So you can see this Fatal Knockout game here. It's not, it's a little bit of a rougher stage than the Dr. Finn's games. It looks a little more self-produced, right? So they do have, let's see, he does have the artist credited. He also is a co-designer. If we go down here, there's some add-ons. Like, production-wise, it's pretty bare bones. There is Meeple University did a video there if you're curious to see more about the actual gameplay. Here we go. So Daniel Haynes is a co-designer, and the artist is May Thornborough. Okay, so there's a print and play version for $10, and then you've got the base game here for $41. If we go up here, we can see shipping is $16, so this would be $57, and then there is this other edition that also comes with the Oddities Fighter Pack, which is going to give you some extras. I'm not going to go too deeply into this one because I just don't think it's going to fund. And B, it's a little rough around the edges, so I don't want to spend too much time with it. This is kind of cool though, right? The design of this in general, that you're going to have the box here, you're going to make it into like an 8-bit video game, and I don't know if these are tokens or just representing buttons. I guess they're just supposed to be buttons. But actually, this is very clever. I like that I always love it when people do things that are just kind of clever in their own way, when they've kind of achieved something or arrived at something on their own. So this is pretty cool. I like that. But in general, the game, you know, the kind of the card art and stuff, it's not as highly produced as it could be, right? Smaller creator though. So that's Fatal Knockout. Probably not going to fund. Okay. So game number 3 is Food Coma. This is another one that is being done, you know, that's a little kind of rough around the edges. This one has an $18,000 funding goal. They're at about $2,700. So this is not going to fund. I mean, Fatal Knockout has an outside chance. Food Coma, I don't think so. But it's designed by these two guys, Cameron and Arlen. Arlen Panchu and Cameron Wong. And I looked at some other stuff that they have their website, and I think they don't credit artists, but I think that they are the artists as well. So they've essentially made a card game here. I actually like this card art. It's, you know, it's pretty bright, bold card art. I actually like it. I'm not too much into simple card games, but I do like the design sense on this one. And it's hard to see it because it keeps going in and out, but there's a card here as it goes by. It's a T-Rex T-bone steak. And so they've got a card game they've created, but they've got interesting things going on with a lot of the art design. And it's essentially, I believe, like a fighting game. Succulent succulents. There's a cactus bearing some butt. And the ghost pepper, that's a ghost. So, I mean, there's some kind of fun cleverness behind some of this design and some of this art. And it's, you know, it's pretty easy to read, but probably not going to fund. If it were, let's just kind of look at it anyway, just to kind of give a look at the campaign. So they've got an early bird discount here, $22. There's only 50 of these available. Once these sell out, you'll be paying $26. And then shipping is $9, so $35 for the standard edition. And then they've got this double helping, which is just 2 copies. Sometimes with card games like this, they'll do that just so you can play with more people. If you buy the standard edition, you really won't have enough cards to play with a lot of people. So pledging like a double pledge allows you to get enough cards to open up the player count. Then they have an early bird discount for this limited edition, which will include, you know, other stuff like a playmat, some more ingredient cards, a foil stamp box, metallic ink. It's just some extras to make it a lot prettier. Plus, it's got that playmat. And then once that, you know, pledge price, or once that is sold out, 50 copies of that, you're going to be going for the higher pledge price, which is $48, still with $9 shipping, so $57. And then they also have this where you're paying even more. This gets into a higher pledge rate, but you're getting an original drawing. I don't think any of this matters. It's not going to fund, which is too bad. I think I kind of like what they're doing here, like just graphic design. It's probably not a me game, but I like their art. Okay, moving on. This is, you know, as kind of more of a Euro gamer and heavier gamer, this is the first campaign that I am seriously looking at. It's called From the Moon. They are already over their funding goal, so $36,000. They're at $57,000, so they're funded. This is happening. It's published by this French company called La Boîte de Jeux. And I may not be pronouncing that correctly, but I have gotten games from them in the past. So let's take a quick look at this one over on Board Game Geek. Okay. So there's 2 designers on this. It's a 1 to 4 player game, so you can play it solo, science fiction, space exploration. There's really not that much listed here in the categories for this at this point in time. One of the co-designers has worked on Queens, To Be or Not to Be, Rainforest, Rauha, Orichalcum. I think I've actually heard of this game. And the other co-designer, I think this is their first published game. Yeah, so those are the two designers. They haven't done that much. The artist, however, Miguel Coimbra, has done quite a bit. So, you may know Miguel Coimbra from Seven Wonders Duel, Seven Wonders, Cyclades, Small World, Battle Lore, Imhotep, More Small World, Zombicide, Outlive, Hyperborea, The Others, Tiny Epic Quest, The Reckoners, When I Dream, Small World of Warcraft, Tiny Epic Zombies, Mythos Tales, A Game of Thrones, the card game. I mean, the hits just keep going. Imhotep the Duel, Rift Force, Hit Z Road, Giants, The Adventures, The Temple of Chak. Okay, we're starting to peter off here. Historia. But Miguel Coimbra has done a lot. So you have probably seen his art around. From the moon, players are representatives of factions trying to complete space missions departing from our moon in order to help humankind survive elsewhere in the galaxy. Indeed, the fate of the Earth is sealed and time is running out. The plan is to launch 3 survival missions before all life on Earth ends. To do that, each faction will contribute by building parts of the ships and build their own lunar base to store the necessary resources. So it's kind of a race game to get these 3 missions completed. Here's what it looks like. They've got these kind of like space explorer, all-terrain vehicle miniatures. You've also got some miniature astronaut type characters you'll put inside of the explorers. And then this is kind of a pretty cool design thing. You'll see as we go down here. They've got these backpacks, and you actually slot tokens in the backpacks, which is pretty cool. Got some player boards, how to play. So you're putting your crew members inside the rovers, and you can see there's things that go in their backpacks. I think this is pretty cool, clever design. You can see you're kind of building an engine. There's some different mechanical systems kind of happening. All right, From the Moon, that's the name of this one. So there's some resources. You can see kind of the tokens and cubes and things that are in the game. Man vs. Meeple talks about it before you play. I've mentioned before that I really like Before You Play, Monique and Naveen. That'd probably be the first place that I'd go to hear more about the game from this page. All right, so there's kind of the various looks of the components and things. So, if you are pledging this game, unless you're in France and you're doing a local pickup, you've got one pledge level here. So it is $69. If you throw in shipping, it ends up being $76 for continental US. And that's going to include the base game and, it's the Kickstarter version with all unlocked stretch goals. So just everything you see you're getting. And I don't believe that they have, sorry to scroll quickly through everything, but I don't believe that they have add-ons. Right? So you're just kind of one pledge gets everything. Yep. So one pledge gets everything at $76 in the continental US. And if you're curious, what else? I'm sorry, I don't know the pronunciation of this name, Le Boîte de Jeu, but they have in the past produced It's a Wonderful World, Furnace. Some of this stuff are things I think that they're just doing the French version of, like Whistle Mountain and Detective City of Angels. If we go to their overview, let's go to their website, because that'll probably show the games that they've actually produced themselves versus the games that they've done, the sort of the French version of. I know they've done It's a Wonderful World. That is theirs. This is probably their stuff, more or less. So It's a Wonderful Kingdom. They've got this game in the palm of your hand, Rift Force. This game, Malhaya, Lands of Legends. So this is their stuff here. What else is on here? I think some of this is stuff that's also, okay, like Whistle Stop and Whistle Mountain, but I think they're just kind of the French distributor for that. So, I mean, It's a Wonderful World, It's a Wonderful Kingdom. Those are the kind of probably their 2 biggest. But they've produced some good stuff. I know of them. They're on my radar. And as a medium to heavy Eurogamer, this is probably the first campaign of the video that I'm considering myself. Then we move on. We've got Interceptor Ace Volume 2, Last Days of the Luftwaffe, 1944 to 45. This is from Compass Games, and they are one of the, biggest, most prolific publishers of war games that I'm aware of. They do a lot of campaigns, and their games seem to be fairly well put together and well rated, and they seem to know what they're doing. Not a huge war gamer, so I don't have a lot of expertise, but just from what I've seen on Kickstarter over the last few years, if I was starting to dip my toe into war games, I'd probably go with Compass Games to start. Now, this campaign has got a $2,500 funding goal. They're already at $8,000, so this is funded. It's happening. Yeah, look, they've run 59 campaigns. It's just, let's take a quick look at what they've done most recently, because they're putting on a campaign every couple months. Prelude to Revolution, The Doomsday Project, Episode 2, 1812, War on the Lakes Frontier, Combat, Volume 1, Second Printing. It's definitely a similar format. You're seeing their games kind of their Kickstarter campaigns look similar. But I think if you were a war gamer, I think you would know these games. American Tank Ace, Schnell Boats. Schnell Boats I've actually heard of. Pacific Tide, 2nd edition, Death in the Trenches, Enemy Action Kharkov. I think that's one of their highest rated ones. Barbarians at the Gates, the Third World War, War for America. So they've done a lot of stuff, and they're always cranking out games. War games oftentimes are not as pretty as some of the other games. They don't have to be, I think. They're not necessarily trying to court people through a wow factor. They're just trying to make a good game. So let's see. That's all we're gonna get, I think, is this kind of magazine page and this board here. Let's take a quick look over at Board Game Geek. Okay, so this one is designed and with art by Fernando Sola Ramos. It's a one-player game, so this is a solo board game. Let's see. Fernando, nothing that's rated has he designed, but he's got a couple other games on here. Panzer North Africa, Desert Struggle, which doesn't look like it's been published. And he has done the art for just this one. Okay. And it got Aviation Flight. It's a war game that's set in World War II. Dice rolling, solo solitaire game. So it says that it's a standalone game, but fans of Interceptor Ace 1943 to 1944 will enjoy having the capability to easily combine both games to span all the career of a German pilot from 1943 until 1945, so you can put both games together. I don't want to go too deeply into all of this information, but if you are interested in Interceptor Ace, it's here for you. And if you're interested in war games, you might want to take a look at Compass Games in general. All right, next up we've got the Quest Kids Giant Adventure. And this one has already passed its funding goal. Oops, it just, as I'm sitting here, just passed over to 15,000. This one will complete its campaign on March 23rd. I always talk about, when you're considering backing something, take a look at the publisher, see what they've done before, because if it's someone who's done a lot of things, they're going to have some experience there and knowing how to clear various production hurdles that will inevitably arise. So, this publisher, Treasure Falls, has done a little bit. So they did the Quest Kids Matching Adventure, and reprint and expansion, and now they've got the Giant Adventure. So not a lot, but it's also not their first time around doing it. Okay. It is a life-sized fantasy board game, so it's probably the same game as the Quest Kids Adventure. It's just big, so you can put it on your floor at home, as you see here, and it's going to take a lot of space. It looks like one of those things you might see in a park when you can play chess on a big board at a park or something, but this is for your room. And I believe that this series was basically created by a father for his kids, kind of, and went the full production route. Let's just see what they say about it over here. The Quest Kids Giant Adventure. All right. So designed by Dustin McMillan, artist Apolline Etienne, and this is an artist that I know of. I want to say it's a she, but I don't know that for sure, so I'll just say they. They've done Living Forest, Wreck Raiders, a bunch of games for kids' table board games. So Wreck Raiders, Fossilis, Power Plants, also Muse, Momiji, Muse Awakenings, and then Haunt the House, Mechanical Beast, Imagineers. I'm familiar with all of these to some degree or another. Borders of Kanta, that's a game that I almost backed when that was on Kickstarter. But they've done lots of stuff. Really good art, actually. I like this art. So this is a life-size fantasy game. Using 36 giant cardboard tiles, players will create a dungeon in their own home and act as the game pieces as they search for treasure, silly bad guys, and stars. Features the same award-winning mechanics as the Quest Kids board game, but it's just big. So this is something I think you probably know if you want it or not, but it's an experience more than a game. If you just want the game, you can get the actual game itself, the smaller version. So this one is $68 for the game. It's also going to come with a 5th player expansion pack. And shipping. All right. So shipping is, well, they've done this grid here where they talk about the shipping's $35. They've done some behind the scenes work to save you $10. So it's actually going to be $25, which means this would be $93. And it will deliver in September 2023. Now, you haven't really seen the gameplay from this, so I think let's just take a quick look. It re-implements the original game, which is called The Quest Kids here. Same designer, same artist, same publisher. Super simple, light game. The weight is only a 1. Very rarely do we see anything that simple. It's an adventure game, children's game, exploration and fantasy. It's got hand management and a modular board. And it's technically, they're billing it as a dungeon crawler. So they say here it's a new fantasy-themed board game adventure for children 5 years old and up. In the game, players control up to 4 of the Quest Kids, a brave team of young heroes, as they explore the magical Tok's Cave. During their adventure, the team will find treasures, scare away monsters, complete quests, and discover magical items, all while helping their fellow Quest Kids out along the way. The Quest Kid with the most stars at the end of the adventure is victorious. And if we look at some of the art, this is the art for the original Quest Kids. Although I have a feeling that in this giant, version that we're looking at, you are the standee probably. Like the game has come to you and you are in the game. You are probably the player of the game. But this is what the original version looked like. All right, so that was Quest Kids Giant Adventure. Moving on here, we've got 2 games from Button Shy, River Wild and Ancient Realm. They're both designed by Stephen Aramini, who's designed some stuff for Button Shy before. Button Shy does wallet games that are 18 cards. They've done Circle the Wagons, they've done Sprawlopolis, they've done Tussie Mussy, which is by Elizabeth Hargrave, the designer of Wingspan. And Jason Tagmeyer runs Button Shy out of his Brooklyn apartment, and they've done so many campaigns, and they make really good games for this very small, very light complexity, very kind of, portable, carried around in a wallet, carrying case type of game. So they have a funding goal here of $2,000. They're already at $38,000. That's a huge multiplier. So they are well funded. They just pump these things out at this point, and they've got a stable designers, I think, who are making games with them and making fairly solid games for this size of game physically and kind of light complexity. So they're kind of on a roll. It's going to complete its campaign on the 18th of March. And let's see. I'm looking at pledge prices first on this one, and then we'll go back and look at the games. So you can do a print and play of both games for $5. you can order one game for $12. And let's jump down to shipping here. So shipping's $5, and I think it's $5 for everything. So if you get one game, it's $5, so that'd be like 17. If you get both games, it's 20. But I believe shipping again is $5, so $25 for both games. And then they have some other pledge prices that bundle up some of their other, most popular games: Sprawlopolis, Tussie Mussy, Skulls of Sedlec. So you're going to get all of those games in this bundle, and I believe it's $55 for that one. And then they've got another bundle here for solo gamers. It includes Sprawlopolis, Food Chain Island, Results-Oriented Versatile Explorer, which is called Rove. And they've got both of these new games, and both of the new games also include small expansions. So this one's also going to be $55. And then you can also do stuff with their website. And as they say here, where is it? Add-ons. They say if you don't want to wait to add more games, just go to our website. And if you order anything over, $25 in the US or $100 internationally, you get free shipping. So you can always go to their website, Button Shy Games, just to kind of use it as a store. But here are the games you're getting in these various pledges. And if we want to learn a little bit more about these two games, let's see if we can tell from the page itself. So River Wild and Ancient Realm. Everything comes in a wallet. Every year in the Realm of Wild, the first snow of the season brings new life to the land. River Wild is a game of creating the most harmonious landscape. And you know what? I'm thinking maybe we'll put the video on here. But it's kind of a tile placement game, obviously. You're scoring points, and you're trying to beat your high scores. Free expansion. Probably 6 cards. Yeah, it's a 6-card expansion. That's typical for them. And that's River Wild. And then they've got Ancient Realm. In Ancient Realm, you'll manage your resources to create a mighty civilization replete with wonders of the world. Golden resources are tracked using 4 storage cards, rotated to show the current number. And feels like a little bit of a sort of a civilization builder in an 18-card game. Let's watch their video. River Wild is a game of creating the most harmonious landscape. Each turn you must play a card to extend your river. I can't keep up with it. I figured I would read since there's no narration, but it's a little too fast. But at least you can kind of see what it looks like. You're building these rivers here, score valleys that are created by the river. So it's just kind of like a little simple puzzle game, an 18-card game, tile placement. Civilization building themed puzzle game for Ancient Realm. You're trying to maximize your points by deciding what blocks to keep and what blocks to build over. And they've got these 4 storage cards that we saw down in the page. Each turn you'll have 4 available cards to place. Some of them will be districts, some of them will be wonders. So it's another puzzle game in a different kind of a way. But at least, you get a look at the art here and a sense for how the gameplay will work. And you're going to be doing this kind of overlapping, it looks like, building with the cards. Okay, so that is Button Shy's latest campaign. 2 games from Stephen Aramini, River Wild and Ancient Realm. And I believe, let's just take a quick look over here. Ancient Realm. Okay, the artist is Milan Zivkovic for Ancient Realm. And let's see... What was it, the one, River Wild? Yes. Yeah, same artist in both games. And Milan has done art as well for other Button Shy stuff. Rove, Results-Oriented Versatile Explorer. I believe he's also designed some stuff too. Wild Tales of Pirate Legacy. He designed this one with Dustin Dobson, who is a designer on Skulls of Sedlec, which is another Button Shy game, and this is yet another Button Shy game, but this one, yeah, he did some art and was a co-designer. So he's done a bunch of Button Shy games as well. And I think the art's pretty sharp. I like it. I think it works really well for what it is. The two games look a little bit different. They're not in quite the same style, but same artist. Okay, from there we go to Sentinels of the Multiverse, and this is on Backerkit. This is being put out by Greater Than Games. This is a new expansion called Disparation, and this is for the definitive edition that they kickstarted last year, I think. If you go to back this, you've got just Disparation that you can back, or you can back a bundle that includes the base game and the previous expansion, which is called Rook City Renegades, and some promo packs that were with each of those. Now, this is a superhero game. It's sort of set in the equivalent of like the Silver Age. It's not affiliated with Marvel or DC, but it is kind of like their Silver Age comics. And you probably could compare it somewhat to Marvel Champions, the card game. The difference is that it's a little bit simpler, and the packs for the various heroes are all kind of assembled. So you don't have to do as much arranging on your own. You're just going to reach for a pack pre-assembled and play that character. And you can play, put different characters together and play missions together. And I believe in Sentinels, you really need to play with at least 3 characters. So if you're soloing, you need to 3-hand it. And if you're playing with 2 players, at least one of you needs to play 2 characters. I've played this one before. I like it. I would consider backing it, but I do have Marvel Champions, and I'm trying not to get too many kind of duplicate type games in my collection. I already have too many games, so I probably won't personally back this one. But if I didn't have Marvel Champions, I would consider it. And this stuff they're going to reveal over the course of the campaign, like all the different cards and card art and things like that. But I like it, and I think if you're looking for something like Marvel Champions that's just more all-inclusive, and it's not going to have, expansion packs coming out constantly that you have to keep up with, then this is a good thing to get. And it's also a little bit simpler and easier to play, and you can just get it to the table a little bit quicker. So their funding goal here is $40,000. They're at $250,000, so it's very funded. It's going to happen. It's going to wrap its campaign on April 6th. And Greater Than Games is a good company. You can very safely, I think, back this. You don't need to worry about risk with Greater Than Games. So add-ons over here. If you kind of want to get some combination of the stuff that came before, you can do that. They've also got some RPG stuff that they're doing in the line. And then they've got, sleeve packs, and you can get it like specific sleeve bundles, or you can just buy the packs themselves, like 1 pack at a time. If you're curious, let's do a quick look over at Sentinels in Board Game Geek. So they had done a version of Sentinels of the Multiverse back in 2011, and they kind of added on to it. And I know it was a little bit problematic. Some of the art was all over the place, and gameplay, evolved over time. So they did this definitive edition back in 2022. Cleaned up the art a bit, streamlined it. So yeah, each game involves 3 to 5 heroes fighting against 1 villain in a perilous environment. So you're combining those things. You're combining the characters, you're choosing a villain, and then you've got an environment. So that's kind of your variability. And it's a cooperative game. You're going to work together or play solo and then try to beat the villain in the environment. And you can mix and match things to add some freshness to the game. So it's a card game, fighting game. It's not based on an existing comic book or strip, but it's got that theme to it, superhero theme, cooperative hand management, and you can play it solo solitaire. It's got variable player powers for the various characters. Like they all work differently, like a lot of these games do. Each deck of cards, each character works differently, and the cards have different powers and trigger in different ways. And it's essentially, I don't know if I'd call it a deck building game, deck construction maybe, definitely hand management. But I don't think it works like a traditional deck builder. But it's a pretty good game, and I think Marvel Champions is a pretty good comparison. but I think it's more streamlined and simpler. And if you're looking for a game that's a little bit easier to get to the table and is not as much of a lifestyle game that you might feel like you have to keep adding onto and keep investing in, then this is probably a good option, a good alternative. Although they may keep working on expansions. It just won't be the kind of constant upkeep like something like Marvel Champions or Arkham Horror the card game or something like that. Okay, from there we go to Soiled, and this is a much smaller card game. This one has a $10,000 goal, almost $11,000. They're at $1,600, so this is not going to fund. We know that right off the bat. April 6th is when the campaign would complete. John Englert, so this is his first time out. I'm not going to look, I think, at this one too deeply just because we know it's not going to fund. But this is a guy who's kind of like designed his own game. Let's just take a quick look. Did he do the art as well, or did he get someone else to do the art? Ivan Giavarini. And Ivan has not had a published game before. So they're both kind of first timers at this. I think Food Coma looks better designed to me than this one, just in terms of like the card art and the graphics and stuff like that. But they're both on that kind of like self-produced kind of lower end of the spectrum. I think Food Coma is doing a little bit better, but I don't think either one's going to back. But yeah, that's what it looks like. And that's all the time I'm going to spend on Soiled. But this launched yesterday as well. And then the final campaign is for a game called Ynaros Fallin, or Ynaros Fallin, or Ynaros Fallin. Not sure of the pronunciation on that. They have a funding goal of $21,000. They're at 10.5. So this is tenuous as to whether this is going to fund. If they hit 2/3 of their funding goal in the first 24 hours, it's usually going to go. But since they're sitting at about 50%, it's really uncertain at this point in time. The campaign will conclude on the 31st. This is Peakwick Dreams Edition. I'm not sure if it means peek, as in, peek around a corner, peek into something. But this publisher's name sounds like you are peeing quickly. That may not be the best name. Especially, let's see. Is this like a kid's game? Adventure, fantasy, fighting, miniatures, action event, area majority influence, area movement, card play, conflict resolution, grid movement, hand management, hexagon grid, hidden movement, layering, once per game abilities, solo, solitaire game, sudden death ending, and tile placement. So no, it's not a really kid's game. But first time publisher, really. First time doing a Kickstarter. Let me make sure that what I'm saying is true. Let's take a look at all involved. The complexity looks to be 2.55 to me is the dividing line between medium light and medium heavy. So I don't know, they may not have too many votes in here yet, but this is going to be like a medium weight game, maybe a little bit on the heavier side. And they're saying it's a 1 to 4 player game, plays best at 2. Let's just take a quick look. So the designers, yep, it's the first time for both designers. The artist, first time. And I think we already know, yep, the publisher, first time. And first Kickstarter, which if it's the first published game, it makes sense. So there's a bunch of things happening. There's some area control. It's got bright colors. It looks interesting. Let's look down a little bit more. I kind of like it when they do these, little gifs here and kind of show you the various player actions. So you're drawing some cards, you're playing the cards, you're moving around the board, you're doing some area control. We've seen these kinds of games before. 3 cantrips. Cantrips are songs. Cantrips are songs that bards sing if you play Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, so it's an interesting, cute little game that's trying to do some kind of basic area control stuff and be cute doing it, but I just don't know if it's going to have the production. I think they did a pretty nice job for first timers, right? I mean, it's a decent production, but it's just since it's the first time for everyone, look, there's a Meeples version. Okay. I'm guessing this will not fund. And, you know, it's a little bit of a riskier proposition since it's kind of the first time out for everyone. And, I mean, there are miniatures in the game. There's kind of a higher production level to this. So there are ways that this could go wrong in the production end of things. All right, let's take a quick look at the pledge levels, though. So we've got the base game here, $38. Have they added in shipping? Oh, I did that myself. I already put the additional money in there. So if you're doing the in the United States here, it's 14 euros for the game and 14 euros for the game and expansion. So 36 plus 14 is 50, which means if you're doing the base game, you're talking about a $53 pledge. If you were also getting the, let's see. Okay, so that's the base game with like the meeples. The deluxe version with the miniatures is going to be more. Let's see. Oh, they've already popped the shipping in there. Which is weird because it's different from what's over here. Why is that? That's a little odd, right? Inconsistent. Which, could also be a little bit of a warning bell, I guess. Maybe, maybe not. But $62 according to the autofill for the shipment here. And then the base game with expansion, see, that didn't autofill. But this is supposed to be 14 euros, which would make this 68. So if you put in 68, if you're getting the base game and the expansion, this is the standard version now, so $72. So we went from, what was it? 53 for the meeples base to 62 for the miniatures base to 72 for the meeples with expansion, and then the higher one here is going to be 96 or $101 for the miniatures game with the expansion. And they have a very diverse team. I like this. There's a lot of people working on this game in various ways. Kickstarter collaborators. David Diaz designed Fossilis, and this guy is great. Really good designer, but he does a lot of 3D renders and videos for other campaigns. Okay. So yeah, I mean, this is a game. It exists. It looks kind of pretty. It's probably not going to fund. Anyway, that is the final campaign for this video for the week. 10 campaigns that launched on Tuesday. I'll be back on Friday with another crowdfunding roundup that will be looking at whatever games came out today, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then I'll have a bonus section where I'll look at games that are going to be completing their funding next week, like the specific ones that I'm cherry picking. So that'll be an additional segment that I'll be doing just on the Friday editions of these videos. These videos are coming out 3 times a week now. Until then, take care, play lots of great games, and I'll see you very soon.